precarious, isolated, breathless. These bridges aren't works of art or products of someone's imagination. They exist in real life and serve as a test for human courage. Some are made of rotting wood, swaying in the wind like they could collapse at any second. Others hang between fog and violent seas, where the wind is so strong that every vibration makes you too scared to take another step. Every footstep here becomes a gamble, with height, wild winds, and the fear inside each of us. Hold on tight, because you are about to explore the most dangerous bridges in the world, defying all safety limits. And if you actually stood in front of them, would you be brave enough to keep going? In the middle of the harsh Siberia region, the Vitim River Bridge appears like a steel hallway across the void between the sky and the water. The entire rotting structure sits precariously at a height of 15 meters, right above the wildest part of the Vitim River. The bridge is over 500 meters long, but the width is suffocatingly narrow, just enough for one car. With no railings, you walk on rotting wooden planks, revealing terrifying gaps that look straight down into the swirling river below. For many years, residents of this harsh Siberian land have turned fear into a habit. Crossing these rotting boards and rusty steel beams exposed to the sun and wind to cross the fierce Vitim River. The bridge is so dangerous that crossing it is almost a rite of passage. Many bikers and off-road drivers from all over come here just to test their courage. Some groups even started a Vitim Bridge Club for those who survived the crossing. Some bridges don't cross wild rivers, but cling to cliffs like they are part of the rock itself, cutting through the endless burning sun of Mexico's Mapimi Desert. Puente de Ojuela appears like a giant steel skeleton connecting two stone towers, hanging over an abyss. Stepping onto the fragile wooden boards that are only about 2 meters wide, you will clearly feel every vibration under your feet. Through the gaps near the railings, the nearly 100-meter deep abyss pulls at you, making you dig your toes in because you're too scared to move. The dry, hot desert wind blowing in your face makes the harshness even more obvious. If you are afraid of heights, never look down, because under your feet is the abyss of history and forgotten things. At the end of this 318-meter-long ribbon is the entrance to the ghost town of Ojuela, a once prosperous place that is now just crumbling walls and the sound of metal moaning under rotting wooden planks. Even when the town below turns to dust, the bridge still stands tall, like a guard watching over the last treasures left underground. Halfway across the world, another bridge was built in an isolated mountain area. The Iya Valley Vine Bridge in Japan looks shaky and temporary, fixed only to tree trunks, making you freeze right from the first step. It is not made of giant steel or modern concrete. Instead, it is made of forest vines, like living creatures crawling across the green valley and rushing water. At 45 meters long, this vine string is not just a path, but was an escape route for Heike samurais after losing a battle. Following the vine strands with sweaty palms, under your feet are wooden planks that seem to breathe, spaced terrifyingly far apart. A creaking sound echoes with every step, and the whole bridge sways like a death hammock 14 meters above the cold, rushing water. Amidst the mountain winds blowing through the gaps under your feet and the primitive nature, this is proof that softness can sometimes be the most resilient and scary kind of strength. Imagine swaying on narrow wooden beams with the old-growth forest floor 40 meters below you. That is the heart-pounding experience at the Kakum Canopy Walkway in Ghana. This bridge doesn't cross a river or a rocky gorge. It goes straight through the green sea of the African tropical jungle, acting as a rope network draped over the necks of 100-year-old green giants. This network is over 330 meters long, with safety nets on both sides, but it only has narrow wooden planks, just 60 centimeters wide, simply stopping you from falling into the void below. The bridge pulses and sways constantly with every step, triggering your survival instincts. Over a dozen people crowd into that small natural hallway, forcing you to face your fear. Until the very last second, the feeling of being swallowed by wild nature amidst the lonely wilderness and the thick smell of old forest sap. You are standing on a symbiotic masterpiece between modern humans and the primary jungle. In front of you is not a straight path, but a giant steel creature twisting in mid-air, the Ruyi Glass Bridge in Zhejiang, China. Wedged between two vertical cliffs, 3 curved steel bridge strips intertwine like a giant DNA strand, creating a visual trap that messes with your mind. Will you conquer the high top level, like the spine of a dragon, or choose the lower, uncertain, sagging path? This layering makes you feel smaller and more unsteady than ever. The real fear only starts when you reach the middle of the bridge. Don't look down yet, because you are standing on a transparent glass floor. At a height of about 140 meters, the deep abyss below is staring right back at you. Between the whistling mountain winds and the rushing adrenaline, you will see even the bravest people crawling on the glass or gripping the cold railings for mental support. It is a wonder that both invites and threatens you, like a ghost gliding through the clouds. Stand on a giant hammock clinging to the pine forests of Vancouver, Canada. At 70 meters high, the Capilano suspension bridge is the definition of unsteady. The footsteps of the crowds passing by create a constant gentle movement right under your feet, making your hair stand on end. Surrounding it is a thick, dark, old-growth forest embracing the flowing Capilano River. In this primitive wilderness, humans suddenly seem pitifully small. The entire 137-meter-long bridge is made only of rope and cedar planks, but hidden inside is a solid steel cable core system that carries the weight and stays strong through rain and wind. When the rain comes, the bridge surface becomes slippery, along with the fog, and you will feel absolute loneliness, swallowed by the primary forest and the magical evening lights leading into a mysterious fairy tale world. This is not just architecture, it is a talented hanging symphony where rope and wood blend into nature like a living thing that helps protect the land and stands firm against the rain. How do you build a path in the clouds, over 700 meters long, in the middle of dangerous terrain and harsh mountain winds? That is Sky Bridge 721 in the Czech Republic. It is hung by a giant steel cable system consisting of 6 main cables and 60 secondary cables, helping to spread out the weight evenly and fight against the impacts of strong winds and freezing weather. The super slim structure creates huge psychological pressure, making you feel like you are floating in thin air without any solid support. Through the gaps right next to your feet, the whole deep forest below shows up frighteningly clear. The walkway is only 1.2 meters wide, just enough for 2 people to squeeze past each other with difficulty. And the scariest part, this is a one-way bridge. Once you take a step forward, there is no turning back. And when the mountain wind starts to pick up, you experience walking on clouds, bumping up and down, with the rhythm of your steps in the middle of a giant natural landscape. In the UK, people create unique architecture in their own way. Rising above the River Dee in Wales, the Pontcysyllte Aqueduct has been a water bridge for residents for over 200 years. The Pontcysyllte Aqueduct looks like a regular road bridge at first glance, but the architecture is completely absurd. It is a giant hanging water canal supported by 19 stone pillars. One side of the bridge is a narrow cast-iron trough wall, and the scary thing is, the other side is almost completely open to the river below. At a height of 40 meters, and you only need to steer off by a few centimeters for everything to disappear from the bridge. At that dizzying height, every step on the bridge surface makes your heart pound. The winds slap straight into your face, and your limbs go weak when you realize you are all alone on a stone and iron knife's edge. Where just one missed step is enough to send you falling straight into the deep abyss below. Once viewed as the craziest project in Europe in the 19th century, the bridge still stands proud against the wildness of the river. You are standing on the boundary between land and ocean, where Highway 1 curves along the vertical cliffs of the California coast. In front of you, Bixby Creek Bridge appears with a clean concrete arch structure, but don't let that beautiful appearance fool you. The bridge is about 85 meters high above the rocky canyon below, connecting two steep cliffs in the middle of the wild Pacific Ocean. If you try to look down under the bridge, a dizzying feeling will tightly grip your mind. One side is the green sea, crashing straight into the base of the rock. The other side is the abyss. You can see the white waves roaring in the deep abyss dozens of meters below, where sharp rocks stick out as if challenging anyone's courage. What makes Bixby scary isn't a weak structure, but the feeling of absolute isolation. The ocean wind slaps across the bridge so hard that vehicles vibrate slightly as they drive through. Let your instinct guide you to the Tarn Valley in southern France, to face a structure that cuts across the sky. The Millau Viaduct is like a giant sailboat, defying even the clouds and becoming the highest viaduct bridge in the world. At a height of 340 meters, taller than the Eiffel Tower, the Tarn Mountain wind, along with thick fog, create an extreme mental challenge for any driver. You have to drive all 2.4 kilometers on a living thing flying in mid-air, a free fall equal to a 100-story building, making anyone shudder just thinking about it. Though originally created to reduce traffic congestion, its unique and clean design helped the Millau Viaduct become the pride of the valley. And after 20 years, the Millau Bridge still stands tall against harsh nature, taking people's breath away just like the first time they saw it in the sea of clouds. From the height of the clouds, land on the stone fortress on El Tajo Gorge, Spain. Here, a narrow corridor appears like a dash line sewing two cliffs together over a bottomless abyss. This was the highest bridge in the world for 46 years, where the boundary between standing firm and free-falling into the over 100-meter abyss is separated only by a rough, chest-high stone railing. The wind roars constantly, blowing up from the bottom of the abyss like a wild beast, trying to knock you down if you dare to stand close to the edge. In the middle of that terrifying space, fear is always waiting. Every time you look into the window of the stone prison, hidden right inside the bridge body, a haunting dungeon of the prisoner's brutal history, mixing with the sound of the wind that sounds like the groans of those punished by being thrown into a free fall. The system, with 3 layers of arches stacked on top of each other, is the life or death solution that helps spread out the weight of the bridge surface over the deep valley. A feat after 34 years, paid for with the blood of dozens of workers who stayed forever at the bottom of the deep abyss. Let's go to Bosnia to see Stari Most, the Ottoman bridge crossing the old town of Mostar like a stone crescent moon, straining to connect life on both riverbanks. With its hunchback design, the bridge slopes steeply in the middle and is only about 4 meters wide. The slippery limestone and low railing make every step insecure. It feels unstable, like standing on the spine of a 30-meter giant stone monster exposing itself in the empty space. At the highest point, just a single strong gust of wind is enough to trigger the instinctual fear that you are about to be thrown straight down into that 12-degree cold Neretva River. The dives from a height of 24 meters, recognized by UNESCO, have become a rite of passage for local youth. Standing right on the bridge, you will see it with your own eyes, feeling the pressure push straight into your mind and haunt you throughout the journey. Every footstep on this bridge is a confrontation with fear, and at the same time, a journey back in time to a resilient historical symbol of the 17th century. Step onto the wooden corridor and face the silk strand swaying over Tangthaman Lake, Myanmar, Bein Bridge. This is not a bridge for the faint of heart. It is a strip of teak wood, supported by over 1,000 old, 2-meter-high wooden pillars driven straight into the lake bed. You walk on a 1.2-kilometer wooden bridge that shakes with every step of the crowd without any protective railing. Just 1 second of distraction or a missed step, and you will fall into the lake below. During the rainy season. If it's the dry season, you risk falling into the vegetable gardens below from a greater height, leaving your body aching. The thick crowd of people almost hides the bridge surface, pushing each other in the tight space to wait and watch the sunset. The teak wood architecture is degraded after more than 1 century of enduring sun, rain, and water erosion, straining to carry the load on a dry, weak skeleton, like a reminder of a bridge collapse. When the bright pink light disappears behind the horizon, the echo of fear and dizziness still stays in the mind. Bein Bridge is like a pink ribbon tied across 2 canyons, hanging in the sky, bringing you to the home of peaches, Gwiju, standing tall at a dizzying height of 370 meters, with a length of over 2,000 meters, right above the Bein River, you feel like you are floating in the sky. This grand engineering project also includes a bungee jumping platform placed right in the middle of the bridge. You will go through a heart-stopping, unforgettable free fall lasting about 8 to 9 seconds. This is a great choice to challenge your limits. Instead of driving through thick fog, you can walk along the path right by the bridge edge, hands gripping the steel railing tightly, soaked in sweat, and legs shaking as you look out at the giant canyon landscape stretching out, and the deep, wild river in the empty space below. The mountain wind squeezes through the gaps, blowing hard from the deep canyon, trying to lift the faint-hearted people standing there. The Bein River Bridge is proof of the extraordinary achievements of modern engineering facing raw, wild nature. Let's start with the feeling of touching the sky in the literal sense. You are driving on a bridge so high that looking down, you can't even see the bottom. The Sidu River Bridge rises nearly 460 meters above the bottom of the Sidu Valley in China, stretching over 1,200 meters. This steel rope crosses the empty space between two high mountain peaks, with vertical cliffs on both sides, bringing a heart-racing landscape and a dizzying feeling. The terrifying height earns this bridge a 3 out of 10 on the courage scale. It is so high that during construction, workers had to use rockets to help build it. To make it easy to picture, the Empire State Building can fit entirely under the bridge with room to spare. If you are afraid of heights, you should not drive across this bridge. Just looking down below will make you feel nauseous immediately, feeling like you are floating in the middle of the sky. That's why this place became the spot for thrill seekers, especially for bungee jumping. Right in front of your eyes is that thin silk ribbon of Tsingy de Bemaraha swinging between two vertical cliffs in Madagascar. Raw fear screams with every movement of the bridge, sagging right above a forest of sharp, jagged rocks sticking up like death spears. Hanging at a height of 70 meters, the wild nature and harsh sun of Tsingy torture your body and mind. Crossing requires you to be equipped with a mandatory climbing system with a safety harness and carabiners. You hold tightly to the steel wire on both sides, and there is only a thin layer of steel mesh exposing gaps that look straight down into the 100-meter abyss, right under the tips of your shoes. The fear of being stabbed or torn open by sharp rocks is the most direct thing haunting you right then. Because of that, any bit of fear of heights and every step at Madagascar's Tsingy will make this simple experience terrifying. You will see that there are lands where humans also have to give in to the wild, harsh power of Mother Nature. There are bridges that make people nervous because of the abyss below, but there are also bridges where the fear starts from a legend. One of them is hidden in Kromlauer Park, Germany. Devil Bridge is the name people call this Rakotzbrücke Bridge, just because of a story they believe is true. Bridges built so perfectly must have been created with the help of the devil himself. Built in the 19th century, this bridge is famous for an arch architecture so perfect that when reflected in the quiet water, it forms an almost total circle. The fog, the silent space, and the reflection in the lake create a weird visual effect that gives you goosebumps like entering another world. The sharp basalt stone blocks with a steeply curved arch structure, and no protective railing along its 35 meters increase the creepy feeling. A technical achievement mixed with spiritual elements, both inviting and threatening. In the mid-1930s, 2 bridge towers rose in the middle of thick fog. At 227 meters tall and weighing about 22,000 tons, they became the support for the Golden Gate Bridge of California, USA. This deep red giant guitar is about 1.7 miles long. Taller than a 60-story building, crossing the throat of the Golden Gate Strait, creating a funnel-like terrain that sucks in wind and storms. Wild winds of up to 96 kilometers per hour slap directly against the bridge body like slaps to the face. Imagine just losing control and driving off the bridge surface. The car will be pulled into the wild sea below, and the chance of survival is almost zero. Walking on the bridge, you can totally get blown away by them. The sound of the wind whistling through the steel mesh makes a terrifying noise, making you feel insecure in the middle of the large ocean. For many decades, the 6 lanes were separated only by thin plastic markers, and many serious accidents happened. Even so, the masterpiece still stands proud against the wildness of the ocean and has become one of the most famous symbols in the world. Imagine driving on a road where for almost 10 miles straight, the horizon disappears completely and the other shore hasn't shown up at all. Around you is nothing but water and water, the lake and the sky mixing into one. That is the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway. A twin bridge route, 38.4 kilometers long, recorded by Guinness as the longest continuous bridge over water in the world. Behind that is a long journey, where the boundary between a regular drive and total fear becomes extremely thin. Lake Pontchartrain is very shallow, but that exact thing amplifies the power of the wind and waves in an extremely harsh way, ready to toss aside any moving obstacle on the bridge. And the only thing separating you from the water is a low concrete barrier. Even though many drivers cross normally, for some with weak minds, that isolation turns into fear. The mental pressure makes the body panic, and hands lock onto the steering wheel without moving. This is a spectacular mind game between man's steel spirit and the fear of the ocean's endless empty space. The Bosphorus Bridge in Istanbul, Turkey, is 1,560 meters long, lifting the road surface to a height of 64 meters above the water. Sitting at the center of political conflicts, you will experience the feeling of driving across continents, starting from Europe and setting foot in Asia. Right below the bridge is the dense shipping lane of giant oil tankers, container ships, and even military warships, making the risk of a marine crash a constant worry. Strong winds at a height of 64 meters blow through, and the steel ribbon is continuously twisted, testing the durability of the hanging cable system. The fast, swirling water of the Bosphorus Strait turned this place into a magnet, pulling people down. The crazy pressure from 200,000 vehicles moving back and forth causes traffic jams lasting for hours and weighs heavily on the bridge structure. Because it is a symbol connecting the two worlds of East and West, it accidentally became a top target in group political conflicts. And that is why it has the name Martyrs Bridge, to remember the coup event of 2016. Let's go to Singapore to walk on the Helix Bridge, a steel double helix DNA structure 280 meters long that challenges the eyes. This project connects Marina Center with Marina South, two of the busiest areas on the Lion Island. Stepping inside the belly of the DNA structure, wrapped in alternating glass and crisscross steel mesh, you easily get pulled into an endless tunnel, feeling dizzy and slightly losing your balance. On festival nights, the crowd of people pouring in makes the 6-meter wide space feel suffocating when holding thousands of people at the same time. But the fear here doesn't come from real danger. It comes from the dizzying feeling of being surrounded by steel, glass, lights, and non-stop movements. The steel block is constantly tested on its weight limits by the frantic footsteps rushing toward the observation deck to hunt for photo angles. In that mess, any small issue would be hard to control in time. What makes crossing this bridge so terrifying? The Chesapeake Bay Bridge in the USA, about 4.3 miles long, is seen as a mix of every element that can trigger a fear of bridges. The bridge deck lifts vehicles to a height of 57 meters above the water, so giant container ships can pass underneath. The railings on both sides are very low, with nothing separating you from the seawater. Just one wrong move, and the car will fly straight out into the air. The bridge takes all the horrible wind gusts of up to 80 kilometers per hour, and there is nothing to stop that monster. You clearly feel your car getting pushed sideways by the wind in the narrow lane. For many drivers, driving across the bridge themselves is almost impossible. Their vision goes dark, hearts pound, and limbs freeze up from panic. Some people even have to see a psychologist just to get over the trauma named Chesapeake. Would you dare to hit the gas and drive across this blade of death to test your nerves? Or would you end up needing the Seoul Rescue Service just to escape it like so many others? The Sunshine Skyway Bridge, USA, is an over-the-sea route over 4 miles long, where modern engineering was built right on the site of a disaster that once happened. Two prominent yellow cable-stayed towers rise nearly 400 feet high, creating a strong image in the middle of Tampa Bay. The bridge was designed with a wide shipping channel in the middle for large ships to pass through safely. Cars climb up a long and pretty steep slope before reaching the top of the bridge. It feels no different than being on a roller coaster when going down the slope at a height of about 58 meters above the water. Both sides of the bridge are mostly low barriers, with only a few sections covered by protective netting. If you are afraid of heights, the experience of crossing this bridge will be very nerve-wracking and dizzying. In 1980, a cargo ship hit the old Sunshine Skyway Bridge during bad weather. A part of the bridge span collapsed into Tampa Bay and killed 35 people. The current bridge was built completely new after that tragedy with a safer design, but the sad memory still makes many people feel a heavy weight every time they pass through. A cross structure between a bridge and a tunnel, where the bridge disappears below the sea surface and becomes a sunken tunnel. Let's come to the steel scar connecting Denmark and Sweden, the Øresund Bridge. Imagine you are sitting on a train, gliding smoothly over the sea, then suddenly diving down as if swallowed into the belly of a sea monster. In that tight, 4-kilometer-long space, all sound disappears, and tens of thousands of tons of seawater and heavy cargo ships are moving right above your head. Your instinctual fear is woken up, and you want to get out fast. The structure that goes against logic helped solve the problem of how to let ships run through the sea without blocking cars running on the bridge. And the only solution was to create one sunken tunnel right in the middle of that junction. At a height of 57 meters, the sea wind tears through the empty space, as if wanting to toss your car into the grey ocean. Crossing the Øresund Bridge is a journey to conquer an extreme state of architecture and nature when humans dare to challenge and go through the middle of the sea. Our journey continues to a place where frantic traffic runs over a very weak geological foundation. The Padma Bridge stands tall, like a guardian god of the storm center of Asia, Bangladesh. This is a terrifying, two-faced wonder. The windy top level is a highway, and the lower level is a train track running all the way through. Padma Bridge looks like a lonely zipper, facing straight up against the destructive power of the wild Padma River, part of the legendary Ganges River. Moving on the bridge on stormy days feels like walking on the line between life and death. The wind from the Bay of Bengal sweeps through the steel gaps, roaring along the bridge body, while below is a fast river that can sweep away anything that falls. The sound of the train echoes back, creating a thick metallic noise, making the bridge vibrate slightly in a space full of pressure. To stand firm on the soft mud ground, engineers had to drive giant steel pillars as deep as 120 meters into the riverbed. The Padma Bridge is a smart bow to the anger of the wild river. Come meet the Replot Bridge, the uncrowned king, nearly 1 kilometer long, ruling over the freezing Kvarken Strait, Finland. Looking from above, the bridge looks like a proud pencil line that humans drew in the middle of the white ground covered in snow. But life on this bridge is always hanging. Moisture and temperatures below 0 degrees Celsius create a thin, crystal-clear layer of ice covering the slippery road surface. Looking no different from a hockey rink. And in that moment, you are like a hockey player, trying to keep the car balanced. The fierce Arctic wind, along with hard blizzards, take away your vision. The whole space ahead will turn into a single, terrifying white wall in the middle of a completely silent and lonely space. You can't tell what is the road, what is the sky, and what is the bridge railing. The car sways and has to crawl real slow to get across alive. The bridge foundation and pillars are monitored extremely strictly to fight against heat expansion from the melting ice, keeping the connection line between the two islands working at all times. A new era begins with a snip of the scissors. The Confederation Bridge was officially born, connecting Prince Edward Island with mainland Canada. At 12.9 kilometers long, crossing the Northumberland Strait, this is the longest bridge in the world, crossing ice-forming water. This concrete ribbon is actually a solid fortress, with a special cone-shaped pillar system designed to break giant floating ice blocks coming its way. Both sides have a 1.3-meter-high concrete wall to block the wild wind from the Atlantic, but it also accidentally blocks the view when driving. You won't see anything except 2 gray walls running endlessly for 13 kilometers. Feeling locked up in a narrow concrete box, not seeing the exit, easily triggers claustrophobia. The bridge path curves and has a large slope as high as 60 meters, making the driver always have to focus hard, turning the journey into a mental torture challenge, much worse than driving on straight bridges. Rising in the middle of blurry clouds, Yeongjong Bridge appears like a white skeleton standing tall. Yeongjong is the Koreans' engineering statement to the Incheon Sea, carrying the pain of a record pile-up crash in this country's history. At a height of 107 meters, thick sea fog acts like a killer, erasing the boundary between the bridge surface and the vast ocean, forming a deathly white wall. And that led to the domino tragedy in 2015, when a bus hit the back of a car ahead, dragging a chain reaction crash of 106 cars along the bridge, injuring more than 60 people. Yeongjong has to fight extremely strong wind gusts blowing sideways, making the bridge body shake slightly. Your car will sway with the side slap of the sea wind and can drift off the driving path. The Yeongjong Bridge is a pricey reminder of the thin line between speed and death every time the fog comes down on Incheon Bay. Usually, a bridge only chooses one type of structure to ensure maximum stability. But the Seri Saujana Bridge in Malaysia is a highly risky mixed structure. Looking from above, the bridge looks like two giant sailboats facing each other, locking down the space with a fine 300-meter-long steel cable matrix. When looking up, the tangled, crisscrossed steel wires cover the sky, creating a suffocating feeling like it could collapse on your head at any moment. With a 73-meter-high steel arch and cable towers sitting bare in the middle of Putrajaya Lake, this aerodynamic funnel becomes a target for lightning and strong winds during storms. You can't know if your car will become the next target of a sudden lightning strike, pushing the fear to the extreme. If you walk on the bridge on a windy day, you will clearly feel every strong gust of wind wanting to lift your body up. To master nature, engineers used an open steel truss design, letting the wind go straight through the structure and spread out the force to both sides. The final stop is China, where the longest bridge over the sea in the world is alone, challenging the rushing tidal waves of the Qiantang River. Hangzhou Bay Bridge is the symbol of the Golden Triangle crossing Hangzhou Bay. Sitting on a region with the wildest currents in China, this steel ribbon, stretching nearly 36 kilometers over the sea, regularly has to take large, fierce tides. The wild sea wind slaps hard, along with waves crashing into the pillars, creating vibrations that remind you of the death whirlpools right under your wheels. Driving on the Hangzhou Bay Bridge is a suffocating mind game. The fog in the middle of the sea erases your sense of direction, and a ghostly sleepiness can hypnotize you at any time. Crawling meter by meter is a torture for the nervous system. In the middle of that scary sea journey, Haiyan Yizhu shows up like a lifesaver with an observation tower rising 50 stories high, helping you temporarily escape the feeling of being swallowed by the sea. And those are the most dangerous bridges, where the line between engineering and fear becomes thin. Whether worn away by ice, hanging over an abyss, or facing fierce waves and storms, all of them have one thing in common. They force humans to step past their own limits. Not every journey is safe, and not every bridge is born to be easily crossed. They are challenges, a direct conversation between humans and the harshness of nature. The impressive part lies in the courage of the people who dare to cross them. Do you want to experience any bridge on this list? Don't hesitate to tell your story in the comments, and remember to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other dangerous journeys.